Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in to my first ever live stream concert. I think one of the things that I've been missing during quarantine is the opportunity to perform, and so I'm very happy that I get to perform for you today. Even though I'm in a very different sort of space than I usually would be, I think that this experience of preparing for this concert has been different than others because I usually feel very secure and calm and focused when I'm in this room. Not anything like when I'm on a stage of a concert hall. And I think so that has really taught me a lot about good ways to practice. And I'd also like to thank my father for being the sound engineer. It's difficult getting a really good sound quality in a small room like this, but I think that what we've done will be pretty good. It won't be quite the same as a live concert, but it'll be the next best thing. And I know that we're all going through very difficult times right now, and I hope that all of you are doing as well as can be expected. I know that especially I know that for my grandfather, these times have been difficult because of the isolation and the loneliness that occurs when you're in quarantine for a long time. And so I would like to dedicate this concert to my grandfather and anyone else who is feeling isolated right now. I will begin the program with Brahms variations on an original theme in D major. This program, as I've been preparing, I've noticed has pieces that really are special because of the composer's use of theme development. And I think in almost all pieces in classical music you'll hear some of that, but for me this is really what makes all of these pieces special. And this first piece, of course, it's called Variation, so it's Brahms wrote an original theme, and then he used kind of the harmonic structure to write more variations that all use that harmonic structure but have different melodies and textures. And obviously there are many different ways to develop a theme, and in the other pieces that I will play today, I'll explain some other ways that these composers do it. This has been a piece that I've wanted to play for a long time, and I am very excited to perform it for you. Okay, now I'm going to play Scriabin Sonata number 4. And this piece also uses thematic development. But for me, he uses it in a very different way than Brahms. This piece has two movements. It's one of the more shorter. It's one of I think it is the most short Scriabin sonata. But it has two movements, and the first is a very kind of melancholic, dreamy, kind of nostalgic, kind of sounding movement. But he introduces this theme, which then is actually used in the second movement, which is very fast and energetic, and he uses the same notes, but he speeds up the tempo, and in some cases he actually changes the rhythm, so he makes the melody kind of have rests in between, so it sounds like it's breathless. And one thing that's interesting about Scriabin, and I studied with a few teachers in the summer, and one of them said that Scriabin his music was like a mad scientist seeing the stars for the very first time and just being completely overwhelmed by that. And in a lot of places I really see that image, and it's a very helpful image for me to understand his music, because his music spans a wide range of kind of idioms, almost from the beginning of his music, which is very much like Rachmaninoff, and like his first sonata definitely sounds like that. Of course, you can already start to hear some hints of Scriabin, but later in his life he became very interested in mysticism, and a lot of his later sonatas are very they can be dissonant in a way in their harmonic language, but they're mostly just kind of all over the place and very very crazy in a way, in a good way. But this piece is kind of in the middle. It's an early work, I think, of his, and it's a wonderful piece. So I hope you enjoy. The next piece on the program is actually one of my compositions. I wrote it for a composition competition based in Montreal, run by the Jeunesse Musicale Fondation, and it was a competition asking for composers to write a piece based on a 6-note fragment of the folk song Home Sweet Home. And I decided to enter it mostly because it was a compositional challenge, and they specified that it had to be less than 3 minutes long, which is also quite a challenge because there's a lot of things that you could do with a 6-note theme and that I wanted to do, and I wasn't really able to fit everything in that I wanted to, but yeah, trying to write a 3-minute piece that really displays a lot of different colors that the piano can produce, and also giving this theme many different ways of being kind of exposed, and also having areas where it's really hidden, but it still becomes kind of a very important part of the piece. And so I wrote this piece, and I think what's interesting is that there are 172 participants in this competition, and I would say that I haven't listened to all of them, but I would say that all of them sound different, very different, completely different, and that's kind of why I like composing so much, why I think it's a really beautiful art form, because it's and especially I would say in this kind of in this genre of classical music, and because it's a 6-note theme, and what I did is sometimes I altered the pitches, or I transposed it, or I made it fast or slow, or I changed the articulation, but other people have done completely different things. Some people turned it into kind of a Viennese waltz, I know, which is, I would have never done that, because that's not what I compose, that's not how I compose, but it's pretty impressive, actually. And so I would hope that all of you, maybe if you have the time, could go to the site and just listening to all 172 would take you 10 hours probably, but listen to a couple. There's also some people who since we're in quarantine, they played with themselves. They recorded 2 parts, or if they play more than one instrument, then they could do a violin piano duet. So I think the link is going to be in the chat, and perhaps also in the description below. And so yeah, I would hope that all of you could maybe take a bit of time. Actually, I think everything closes tonight at midnight, probably Eastern time. But if you have a moment, it might be kind of fun. And you can also, if there's one composition that you particularly like, you can go and vote for as many as you want, or the particular one that you like. So I'm going to play my Etude on Home Sweet Home. Another way that you can find the link for the competition and all the participants' compositions is to go to my website, which is henryfrompianist.com, and that's should be down there. You'll see that written, and so you can go to my website, and the link should be there also. So I'm going to finish off the program with a massive set of variations by Rachmaninoff. This piece was written in an interesting time in Rachmaninoff's life, which was Rachmaninoff went through quite a few years of depression, because when he premiered his Symphony No. 1 and also his Piano Concerto No. 1, people were very they were very unimpressed and really disliked the music. The critics were very harsh, and of course he had put in a lot of he had put everything into them. They were very dear to him, so you can imagine how difficult that would be. And so he went through a few years where he didn't compose anything, but he managed to get some help from a doctor, and he ended up starting back at composing in 1901, I believe, and that's when he composed his second piano concerto, and it received many awards, and he became very famous for it. And even today, I think it's pretty much one of the most famous piano concertos, if not the most famous piano concerto. And this was written at the same time as his Piano Concerto No. 2. So I think it's there's actually some sections that really sound like the second Piano Concerto, and of course it sounds like Rachmaninoff, beautiful long lines, melodies, intricate counterpoint, and it's very enjoyable to listen to. This piece is based off of a Chopin prelude, and what's amazing is that he takes this 8-bar section from the prelude, which is just big chords, and he turns it into some of the most beautiful melodies, most rich harmonies, and also that he managed to write almost a 30-minute long piece with it. And it's kind of inspiring for me as a composer too, because that's quite amazing that, every variation sounds different, and he really expressed a lot of things that even that Chopin prelude by itself obviously wouldn't express. And so I hope you enjoy Rachmaninoff variations on a theme of Chopin. Okay, I think to finish off today, we're going to have um, a bit of a chat. I'm going to answer any questions that you have. If you have some, please write them in the chat, and I will answer them as best as I can. I have some questions from Daiga Stube. She is the mother of one of my best friends, Anna, and also my trio mate. We play together sometimes in the summer, and her first question is, what is it about modern composers and their music that you find so compelling over the music of the classics like Bach and Beethoven? Wait, I have to stop this. Okay. I think I enjoy both, really. Bach is one of my favorite composers, actually, and what makes Bach special, I think, is that no musician can, or no composer or performer can deny, is the fact that he has influenced every single classical composer after him. Because what he did with counterpoint, is similar to some of the other Baroque composers around the time, but it's absolutely, different. And I mean, I guess it's true that he was only discovered around the time of Mendelssohn, but then I would also argue that, kind of his style also influenced other composers and made sure that this new idea of counterpoint, which is so important to our music today, kept being popular. And I mean, in Mozart, in the Beethoven, so in the classical era, I guess there was less counterpoint, but it was still important, I think. And I think what I choose to perform is mostly based on what I am working on at the time, and right now, I've been learning a lot of pieces. These pieces I just learned in the last 2 months, and I just wanted to perform them to get, that really helps me improve on a piece. And so I didn't intentionally not include Bach or Beethoven in this program, and I do play both of those composers. What I really like about modern composers is that there's I don't know, I guess it's just a preference. I don't play a lot of like really recent pieces like composed in the last 20 years other than my compositions, but there's a lot of really amazing pieces. I think, like, I play pieces as recent as 1950, but not as not more recent. I guess it's just a preference. I can't really put it into words, or it's something I like about it. And then the second question is, how has your musical taste changed over the years? I think when I was younger, I played more, like you said, classics, Bach and Beethoven. So those were my favorite composers, but that wasn't because I liked them more. It was just because I wasn't, I hadn't been exposed to others. So that's how it's changed, is because I've been exposed to pieces in the 20th century, by Schoenberg, Berg, and Stravinsky and Prokofiev, all those composers. It's changed my preferences. Okay, so I'll look at some of these in the chat. Okay. So thank you, everyone, for your kind words. There's a lot of. This is really nice. Thank you, everyone. I'm just reading. Okay. Here is a question from Beth Walters. Are you taking on rock second concerto? This is the first piece that I learned by Rachmaninoff, other than some of the preludes. And I would maybe play it in the future, but not right now. It's a very well-known piece, and everybody knows what it sounds like, and probably it shouldn't be this way, but that takes some of the interest that I have for it away. Because, you know, I like attacking pieces that are new, something that I can discover on my own, and so that you know, I will probably learn in the future, just because, you know, it's a piece that I think everyone should eventually play, but not right now. When are you going to Juilliard or an academy in Russia, maybe? By that's from Glima Nambiar. I don't know where I'm going. I have to decide based on the teachers that are teaching there. I've never met a teacher from Russia, so I probably will not go to study there, unless I do meet a teacher there within the next year or two. But I've met a lot of really excellent teachers in Europe, and also in the United States and Canada, so I haven't decided where I'm going yet, but I need to decide soon, that's for sure. Okay. I thank you everyone again for everything that you've said on the chat. I can't thank everyone, but I will name a few people. Thank you, Lynn H. And I have a question from DC Highslop. The question is, who are some of your favorite contemporary composers? Contemporary composers, one of my favorite is Thomas Adès. And so he has a lot of orchestral works that are very impressive, and also some piano works. I've never played any of them, but they're very he uses he has like a lot of textures going on at the same time, so it can be almost it can be exhilarating actually to listen to, but also obviously very difficult to perform. His piano pieces are very difficult, and so yeah, he's one of my favorite contemporary composers. I enjoy a lot of of my teachers and people that I've studied with for compositions work. So recently I studied with Sarah Kirkland Snyder, and I really enjoyed her orchestral piece, Hiraeth. And also Jared Miller. He wrote a piano concerto which Sarah Davis Buchner premiered, which was quite amazing, quite moving. And I heard some of these composers at the Winnipeg New Music Festival, so that really was eye-opening to hear all those new composers. And yeah, I have quite a few. Let's see, another one would be Rzewski. Um, he has a variety of works. Some. Well, it's difficult to explain. But I'll spell the name so you can maybe go and listen a bit. It's Rzewski. That's his last name. So that's another favorite. Okay. Oh, thank you. I see Clementina and Steve from Calgary have logged on. Thank you for listening. They are important to me because I stayed at their house while I was giving a concert with my piano trio in Calgary. And so thank you for watching. And okay. 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 So I have I think I have on the screen right now. You'll be able to see my. What am I telling them?
No, just read the question on the screen. It's whether you're a composer or.
Whether I'm a composer or a player. Okay. I don't see that. Where is it on the screen?
Yeah, it should be on the screen.
Okay, I don't see that question. Let me just.
The question is from Sue in Portugal. Are you more a performer or a composer?
Okay. Thank you, Sue, for the question. I am both, I think, because they really they go well together. People who only are soloists and don't ever compose. First of all, I think it's fairly uncommon. A lot of music students do compose sometime in their studies, but I think it's really important to be able to compose, not only because you can expand your repertoire and play what you really want to play something that you really love to play and connect with, and that's what I'm able to do when I compose pieces for myself. And also just because there's some kind of musical satisfaction that I get when I hear my pieces being played, especially by big ensembles, like a full orchestra, that then can actually it's too exciting to kind of put into words, I guess, but it's a really wonderful feeling, and I would never want to stop composing because that's something that I can't live without. On the other hand, I would never stop practicing the piano because that's what allows me to be able to compose, because if I didn't know how to play the piano, then I wouldn't be able to write for the piano very well. And also, playing the piano is very good for a composer because you have a lot of voices, so it's easier to hear things and be able to compose things for a lot of parts. So I will continue to be both, and I don't think I'm more one than the other. Okay. I don't see any more. Or you have one? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yes. I will have another live stream performance later in the summer, and so you can email me at henryfrompianist@gmail.com, and I will let you know when it is. It's part of the Art of Piano Festival, and it's run by Awadajan Prat, who is a pianist that I actually saw in Bellingham when I was very young, and that was pretty inspiring for me. I don't actually remember that much about it, unfortunately, but I remember that, and I've listened to recordings of him now. So he's a very respected pianist, and so he runs a festival in Cincinnati. It was canceled, of course, because of coronavirus, but there's a online festival that's in its place, and I'm going to have a short performance in that, along with some other some really talented pianists, and so I'll email you about that, and I think it will also probably be on my website too. Okay, I think if we don't have any more comments or any questions, I think that's it, and I hope that all of you. I hope that all of you do well. It's difficult in this quarantine, but at least we're doing it for a good cause, and we can still. I'm actually very thankful for this time that I have gotten in quarantine to practice a lot and learn new repertoire. I might not have been able to learn these pieces if I didn't have that extra time. So thank you everyone for tuning in again. Thanks for taking some time out of your schedule, and hopefully this was pretty fun, so maybe I'll do it again. Thank you.